Thank you, Officer Wetzel. I'd like to welcome you all here tonight. It's a great to see the crowd, people participating in the government. So we will apologize for a little late start. We've got a big agenda tonight, so we need to be expeditious in how we handle our business and get you on home. As always, we always start our meeting with an invocation, and Commissioner Larry Crawford will lead us in that.
Let us bow for prayer. Holy God, it is with grateful hearts that we come before you once again this evening to give you thanks and praise for everything that you've done for us, for the abundant life you've provided, for the great health that you've given us. We know there are many across this world that is in need of you and in need of a touch from you, turmoil in their life, their country. God, we pray comfort from you upon those. Bless this time that we have together to conduct the business of our county. May all that we do and say be for the betterment of all those involved. For it's in Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Officer Wetzel, would you lead us in the pledge?
Raise the flag, salute, pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Commissioner King just reminded me that one of our former members, Terry Harkerode, is having some health problems now. Terry's been in the hospital, so please remember him in your prayers. Terry has been a faithful member of this body for, I believe, about 12 years, so wonderful family. Looks like all our commissioners in the seat, so Madam Clerk, would you take the roll? Everyone checked in. We've got them all.
23 present, 1 absent.
Thank you. Been in touch with Mr. Sullivan. He knew he was going to be late tonight, so I expect he will join us shortly. The next item on our agenda is I know the Commission always enjoys hearing from our guests, and we have quite a list tonight. We'll try to move through these. First up is Mr. Clay Walker, CEO of Networks. And Clay, it's always a pleasure to see you. Thank you for coming tonight.
Likewise, it's always good to be here and give a quarterly report, particularly from the last quarter, because it was a very busy one. As many of you know, you're alongside us for some ribbon cuttings and groundbreakings. We announced 2 projects last quarter: Tennessee Hills Distillery headquarters and museum and education facility in Bristol. And that very same day, as y'all know, we do the marketing and recruitment for Phipps Bend in Hawkins County, and we announced Simcoe locating there. We also made movement on something this body's been very engaged in and supportive of, or we wouldn't be able to do it. And as we finish up the groundwork for Partnership Part 2's rail serve site, we have come to agreement with Kingsport on identifying property due on that end of the county as part of the arrangement we made some years ago. It's been a challenge getting suitable property, and it's about the same size as the Bristol property. It's a 41-acre site, and we're working out the details with the city as to how best make that acquisition and seek grants, and along with our matching money, be able to develop that site to get more product for our county. We're also near development, a rollout of a workforce development website that we've been working on. We're very excited about that. It's going to make a big difference to our educators and workforce training partners, as well as employers and would-be employees or citizenry. In addition to that, the big activity of the last quarter was that we got back to our signature marketing and outreach event or at least our inbound event, which was our Northeast Tennessee Red Carpet Tour. And we had about 10 guests come, consultants and companies we've been working with, and it was good after a 2-year absence to be able to have people back in a somewhat normal environment. And we've already gotten some activity from that. We also attended the Governor's Conference at the end of the quarter. And again, it was the first time it had been a full-bore conference in a couple of years. And that went really well with lots of great sessions. I think most important at these conferences is the interaction between our peers across the state and comparing notes and learning from each other. We just finished up hosting TEDC. That's our state economic development professional group. And for the first time in about 15 years, we had the conference here. It was based at Meadowview in Kingsport, but we had a Thursday afternoon in Bristol. So that's fresh on my mind. But technically, we're already into another quarter, so that'd be on next year's quarter, or next month's quarterly report. But I will say this about it. As always, one of the greatest parts of my job and my colleagues' jobs is that we get to show off our communities, and we get to see our communities through fresh eyes. I recently had my niece and her husband and my great nephew come visit us a couple weekends ago, and again, driving them around, showing it off to TEDC to our colleagues, especially this time of year when the leaves look so great. They're in awe of everything, and they're like, do you ever get tired of this, used to this? And I said, I think sometimes we all get used to things and are complacent, but we never get tired of it. And one of the things we did with TDC is we went to Bristol Motor Speedway and allowed our guests to get in cars with some of the staff there and do some pretty quick laps around the Speedway. And Michael Parker, our Director of Economic Development, was in a separate vehicle, and I got off the bus with our guests, and there's just an excitement with them getting there. And Michael was walking over toward the bus, and I said, Michael, you ever get tired of this? And he had a speaker, and he said, never, not at first second. And I think it's always important to get to see that through fresh eyes and realize with all our problems, our issues with workforce, with developing land, with all the things we face, that other people face as well, that we're still very, very fortunate and blessed to live and work here. So again, a busy quarter, 2 big announcements for jobs, companies moving in. We're developing the product and the infrastructure to keep that going. And you can't do it quick enough, but we're doing all we can in that regard with your help, as it is with everything we do. So if that's it in a real nutshell. I know you're busy. If there are any questions, I'm, as always, happy to answer them. Well, depending on I'll always answer it, depending on the question, I'll be happy to answer.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Walker? Clay, we appreciate what you and your fine staff does, and over the last 9 years, you've had a great effect on the health, economic health of Sullivan County. We're here ready to assist you when you need us.
I appreciate you always have, and again, thank you so much for all you do.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to recognize Commissioner Glover in the well for an introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't want to turn my back on the commission, but I want to face the audience out here. We have a very special guest here with us tonight, and a lot of times we have folks in the community that stand up and move things forward in a positive manner for kids and for young folks. And this young lady and her husband have done that, and I wanted her to come tonight and recognize her and let her tell the commission and the folks of what's been going on with Sullivan East High School. She's the president of the Sullivan East Patriot PAC. Her husband's Mr. Mark Bartley. Miss Amy Bartley's here tonight to give a report on something that they have started for the kids at East High School. It's very important. I think it's one of the greatest things that's been done for the folks in that area and the family. And at this time, I'd like to recognize Miss Amy Bartley to come up and tell the folks of this commission what's been going on. Thank you, Amy. I'm going to hand a packet out while she's speaking.
Sure.
Thanks.
Thank you for having me. I'm a graduate, a 1991 graduate of Sullivan East High School. My father is the first graduating class of 1969. I've had 3 children go through Sullivan East, and I have 3 children currently at Sullivan East. So you could say my blood is red, white, and blue. Sullivan East covers a huge part of our county. It goes from the borders of Johnson City, Blunkville, all the way to the offset. We also have a very economically challenged community. So this past summer, when talking with Mr. Hare, I asked him how I could help and how my friends and could help the school, because he was doing so many things on his own. And he had started a group called Patriot PAC, but it was a meeting basically talking to the community about what was going on at Sullivan East and brainstorming how they could help or setting goals for the school. We haven't had a parent group, and so we felt like this was an opportunity to help our principal and teachers and the community. So Patriot PAC stands for Patriots, and some of us like to say parents, but Patriots, Alumni, and Community. So I just wanted to share with you some of the things that we've done since we decided it's time to stop pointing fingers and say they should be doing this or they should be doing that. Well, the they is us. And so we decided to get busy at East. And I printed a little photo album for you just because pictures would say more than I can say. So since this summer, we started a clothing closet at our school. It started out as just boxes last semester, and they were actually donated from Central High School. Amy Mumpower is now one of our principals, but she left Central to come to East, and she brought the clothes with her because the new school didn't want them. So what we did with those maybe 20 boxes that we had is opened it up to the students, but we were making it more need-based. And as many of you know, there's a lot of pride sometimes that goes along with not having. And so it's difficult to point out to children or students, hey, would you like to come look at these clothes? So what us parents decided to do is make it a mainstream clothing store. Mr. Hare graciously gave us a pod. We went to ETSU to their surplus store, and we got shelves, and their shop team, our construction class, painted them for us. And then different people started donating clothing racks. Now the community's donating clothes, and actually students within the school are donating clothes. And every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we open the store to the students, and they can shop there free of charge, because we felt like that it would give them self-esteem and encourage them and just help them feel more confident and feel like they fit into the school. With it being mainstream, that also opens opportunities for other students in the school to serve. So a lot of our students maybe don't necessarily need to shop there, but they do. It's fun for them. They all know a friend that needs something that won't ask, so they bring their friends in. It took us several weeks for kids to understand that it was completely free. So many of the kids would get dress coded on purpose so that they could come up and get a pair of jeans, or they could get something just because they wanted to shop, and we had to say, okay, this is free to you. You can take it. You don't have to get dress coded. You can come anytime. But you have to leave with a smile and invite a friend that you know needs to come in. So we have students, this was hard for me to believe, and I may cry on you, but we have students that don't have running water. We have a few students with dirt floors. We have homeless students. And these kids sometimes come into me, they don't know what size they wear. They just wear whatever's given to them. Most of the time it's not the right size. So it's opportunity for the parent volunteers and the community to help them. We don't ask questions. If they want to talk to us, they talk to us, and just meet their needs. Something else it's doing is we have student volunteers, which I brought two with me tonight, that help. They can get their community service hours in by helping me sort clothes, by helping with some of the other students. We also have some disabled children at our school, and this is a work-based learning program for them. So they have a job coach. They come in, they learn to sort clothes. They've also a new football field. Our baseball field is being returfed, but our building is old. She's older than me, so she needs help. So we would like to raise money at some point to paint our school. We would like to have a golf cart for our custodians. Right now our custodians are taking trash in their car. They're going around campus in their car picking up trash, and we have wonderful, wonderful custodians. They help me in the clothing closet as well. So I'm hoping to get a golf cart or a gator or something to help them pick up our donated clothes and take them to our swag shop, as the kids call it, or pick up the trash around campus. Our little theater's in need of a sound system, so that's on our agenda. Our tennis courts are crumbling, and I tried to put one picture on it. It really doesn't do it justice for the damage that is on the court. We need some fencing replaced by the press box. Right now we can't paint or mow around their press box, and it's kind of an eyesore that we're trying to work on. And I'd also love to partner with a business to help the kids have a t-shirt with their swag shop and Patriot Pack on it. The kids have really, really loved the shop. It's like Christmas every day for some of them, and I would love for you to come visit. It will bless your heart to see what's doing.
Thank you.
I'm going to let my students introduce themselves and tell you what grade they're in and what they do to help me.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Emily Cross, I'm an 11th grader at Sullivan East High School, also your reigning Miss Cover Bridge Days. And I would first like to start this off by saying Sullivan East isn't just a high school. Many people think of school as just a high school, and East High School is so much more than that. We are a family and a community, and our principals and our staff, like Amy, are awesome. They do everything that they can to help our school, including the Patriot Pack, and it's a really great way to give back to our community. And I just think that our students really enjoy this and being able to help each other.
Okay. Good evening. I'm Kylie Collins. She was very professional. I'm impressed. I'm also an 11th grade student at Sullivan East High School. So this summer, when the Patriot Pack first opened and it first became a thing, I got a friend request on Facebook from the Patriot Pack, and I was like, what is this? And so I accepted it, and I saw that we are opening a thrift store for all of our students, and I thought, wow, that's truly amazing. Sullivan is a community. Every student there cares for each other, which is crazy because we're all in high school. Our staff is amazing. Amy, everyone who has helped out with that thrift store is amazing. My peers, my fellow students, my friends, everyone I know has shopped there at one point, or at least went up there and got something. I think it's definitely helping people in need. I've donated myself a couple bags of clothes, and I think it's awesome to see people wear my clothes. You look so cool. But an example of how it has helped, just that I've seen personally, is this week, or last weekend, we had a homecoming dance. And in the Patriot Pack store, there are dresses, prom dresses, beautiful prom dresses, brand new, suits, ties, everything you could do. You go in there, and they're like, we'll hook you up. They go in there, and they fit you. They make sure you have the right size. Everybody looked great. There were tons of people who got their dresses and their suits there. It was awesome, and I think that helped a lot because I know a couple of my friends said that they personally weren't going to go to the dance because they had nothing to wear and they couldn't afford an expensive suit or tie or dress. And so they went in there and they got them something, and now I got to have an amazing night with my friends. And so I really appreciate the store, and I really appreciate everything they've done for our school.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Hart. Thank you for sharing with us going on at East High School. We're very proud of you. Proud of what you're doing. Thank you for coming. I have the privilege tonight to have several proclamations that I'll share with the group. The first, I would like to ask the commissioners from District 6 to please join me at the podium for a proclamation. And even though we have these three commissioners that represent the area, I think you'll know after I read the proclamation the reach and the touch of Sunnyside Baptist Church. And we did this proclamation at the request of Commissioner Horn, Commissioner Means, and Commissioner Vanover, so I'll read that. We have anybody from Sunnyside? If y'all like to come up? Okay, I'm gonna let Commissioner Horn introduce our guest from Sunnyside, and then I'll read the proclamation.
We have Pastor Dr. Bill Sims and Associate Pastor David Luster is with us tonight.
I'm not a professional at reading these proclamations, so you'll forgive me if I stumble. Whereas generations of congregants who have worshipped at Sunnyside Baptist Church since Sunday school classes first began at what was then a country school named Sunnyside back in the spring of 1947. Whereas the church and the community it serves have celebrated a milestone in the church's history. And whereas local residents look forward with hope that Sunnyside Baptist Church will continue to thrive in the community in which they are a beloved landmark. Whereas the Commission and I wish to honor Sunnyside Baptist Church, recognizing this milestone at our monthly meeting here tonight at the historic Sullivan County Courthouse in Blumville. Now therefore, I, Richard Venable, Mayor of Sullivan County and Chairman of the Sullivan County Commission, hereby offer congratulations to congregants from Sunnyside Baptist Church in recognition of the church's Diamond Jubilee, marking its 75th anniversary. Thank you for being with us here tonight. Thank you. I want to make a personal comment. My children went to Vacation Bible School at Sunnyside, and that was about 40-some years ago. So thank you for being here with us tonight. Thank you. If you'd like to address the group.
On September the 14th, we celebrated our 75th anniversary, and we had a wonderful day, and the church is blessed by the Lord, and we just appreciate tonight. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
We're an iconic member of our community, and we look forward to the next 75 years. And I'll be here to celebrate with you. Now, this is an annual pleasure that I have. Do we have folks from the 4-H Club and with us tonight that want to represent the National 4-H Week? If not, I'll go ahead and read the proclamation. Whereas 4-H is America's largest youth development organization, having supported almost 6 million youth across the country thus far. Whereas 4-H has helped thousands of youth in Sullivan County become confident, independent, resilient, and compassionate leaders. Whereas Sullivan County 4-H has provided members of community mentors and learning opportunities to develop skills they need to create positive change in their lives and their communities. And whereas 4-H is delivered by cooperative extension, a community of more than 100 public universities across the nation that provide experience where young people learn by doing in hands-on projects in areas including health, science, agriculture, citizenship. And whereas National 4-H Week showcases the incredible experience that 4-H offers young people and highlights the remarkable 4-H youth who work each day to make a positive impact on those around them. And whereas National 4-H National Network of 500,000 volunteers and 3,500 professionals provide caring and supportive mentoring to all the 4-Hers, helping them grow into true leaders, entrepreneurs, and visionaries. Now therefore I, Richard Venable, do hereby proclaim October 2nd through the 8th, 2022 as National 4-H Week throughout Sullivan County. I encourage all of our citizens to recognize 4-H for the significant impact it has made and continues to make by empowering youth with the skills they need to lead for a lifetime. We will make sure that's delivered to our local 4-H group at headquarters down at Ramsey Center. Next, I'd like to Commissioner John Gardner. He doesn't know he's going to join me up here, but John, I have a resolution here for Hope.
Okay. Do I can accept it on your behalf?
You can join me up here if you like. Do we have anybody from the Hope organization here tonight? And the reason I asked Commissioner Gardner to come up here is that John has been a longtime supporter of Hope, and he just helped Miss Stella. We had a wonderful farm to table, and I will read this and ask you to go deliver it to Miss Stella if you will, John.
And Hope is having their fashion show November 13th, and I'll make sure I get it to her by then.
Please do, and she's informed me I have to show up in a tuxedo for that fashion show.
In my place.
I've got two and don't have a one that'll fit.
Yeah.
Okay, if I can, I'll read this. Proclamation recognizing Hope, H-O-P-E, Help Our Potential Evolve. Whereas Help Our Potential Evolve, known widely in Sullivan County as Hope, has nurtured young youth in this area with various these young people have practiced savvy shopping along with healthy food preparation, leading to practices that will serve them their entire life. And therefore, on behalf of the Office of the Mayor of Sullivan County, Tennessee, and Sullivan County Commission's 24 members, I and the Commissioners wish to recognize these and to congratulate and encourage Hope to continue the value they add to our region through enrichment and education. And we will deliver this to Ms. Stella Robinette. John, if you will.
Thank you very much. On behalf of Hope, we really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. John and I were lucky enough to be at that farm table.
It was excellent.
Excellent food.
It was.
Not that we need it anymore. Anyway, tell Stella.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to ask Commissioner Travis Ward. I just drew a blank on your name, Travis. If you'll join me up here, and the commissioners from District 6 again, if you would. I do draw a blank every now and then. I'm taking Prevagen, but I'm not getting any better. So, anyway, these one left we have to. This group of distinguished and distinguished commissioners wish to remember one of their fellow friends who has passed. And so I'll read the proclamation and allow them to make any comments they'd like about it. Whereas Sullivan County and its citizens lost a dedicated, loyal community servant. with the sudden passing of 6th District Constable Mark Anthony Wells on August 15, 2022. And whereas Mark, 50, was the embodiment of a true people person, had a talent for making people laugh, and happiness followed him everywhere. Whereas Mark was a Virginia native who moved to Kingsport with his wife Natalie in 1996. And will be remembered as a loving husband and friend who loved his God, his country, and serving his fellow county residents. Whereas Mark was loved by and will be missed by his son Ross, 12, and daughter Hunter, 16. Parents Doris and Tommy, and brother Tommy Wells II. And whereas Natalie and Mark were blessed to share 31 years together, and Natalie knows someday they will be together again. Whereas Mark worked for the Sullivan County Sheriff's Department for 2 years and became a constable in 2020. Both roles allowing him to work in law enforcement profession he loved and for which he was so suited with his personal approach to interacting with others. Whereas Mark was working as a security officer at 2 churches in the county and worked at a local campground during the Bristol Motor Speedway race weekend. Whereas Mark was an avid railroad enthusiast. Now therefore I, Richard Venable, on behalf of myself and the Sullivan County Commission and the citizens of Sullivan County, do hereby recognize, commend, and honor Mark Anthony Wells for his exemplary service to others, his love of God, country, family, and his fellow man, and especially for his devotion to the public of Sullivan County. Thank you, Commissioners.
Ms. Wells, I never knew Mark, but I know the other constables in the 6th District, and I know what they think of him. And he was a truly unselfish person, and anyone who's in law enforcement now is a hero. So he's a hero to us as well as he is to you. So we'd like to give you this proclamation in his honor and thank you for his service.
I thought I was going to be able to be strong, but I gave up. Mark was so excited and honored to do what he did. I've known him since I was in the 2nd grade, and law enforcement was all he ever wanted. Then we reached a point in our life where he could become to be a constable, and he was so excited, and it allowed him to do what he wanted and be there for our family. And I just thought we had many more years for him to do that, what he loved. But I just want to say thank you all for taking the time to honor him. He would be so honored and so proud. He was so proud to do what he did. And we just lost him way too soon. And thank you all again. Thank you.
Next on our agenda are election confirmation and appointments. And I'll read the orders of appointments. Whereas the Bristol Bluff City Utility District Board of Commissioners does hereby certified to the Sullivan County Mayor pursuant to TCA 782-03, and that the term of Commissioner Virginia Judy Hodges will expire November 15th, 2022. Whereas a vacancy has occurred on the utility board by virtue of the expiration of that term. Whereas the Longville District Board of Commissioners further certifies that nominee Virginia Judy Hodges is qualified and agreed to continue to serve on the board. Now therefore be it ordered, judged, and decreed by Sullivan County Mayor Richard Bundle pursuant to TCA 782-307 that nominee Virginia Judy Hodges shall be appointed to the Bristol Bluff City Utility District Board of Commissioners. Signed, terms expire November 15, 2026, as is read into the record. And before the Mayor of Sullivan County, Tennessee, South Fork Utility District, order appointing Utility District Commissioner. Whereas South Fork Utility District Board of Commissioners does hereby certify the Sullivan County Mayor pursuant to TCA 782-07 that a vacancy exists on the District Board of Commissioners. And whereas the South Fork District Board of Commissioners further certifies that the nominee, Josh Hayes, is qualified for appointment to such vacancy and has agreed to continue to serve on the board. Now therefore, be it ordered that judge and decree that Josh Hayes shall be appointed to the South Fork Utility Board of Commissioners. Said term to expire, I believe that's a 4-year term in 2026, October. And, John, could you join me for just a second? We had a late arrival that got covered up with some of the paper that was up here. I've got a snowstorm up here tonight. We have had a vacancy in District 6 as we were talking, and it is the job of this commission to appoint a replacement in that vacancy. We have had one person nominated, William C. Moles. Has been nominated or has applied for it. We will need a nomination from the floor. Commissioner Gardner nominates Mr. Moles for filling out the unexpired term of the deceased commissioner. I'm sorry, Constable. Thank you. Dan, I'm going to rely on you because we don't do this often, but are there any more nominees for the position of constable in the 6th District? Seeing none, we will vote on the appointment. Mr. Council Street says that I should ask the public if they have any nominee for constable who is qualified for the 6th District. Seeing none, I will accept the motion that nomination cease. Commissioner Gardner, Commissioner Crawford move as such. Mr. Moles is duly qualified, 21 years of age, qualified voter in Constable District 6, ability to read and write, not been convicted of any federal or state court or felonies, and that he has not been separated or discharged from the armed forces of the United States with other than honorable discharge. Any discussion? We're ready to vote. We're going to have that on the board, Angie? Okay, we'll put that on the board, and unless we have a nomination to appoint by acclamation. So everybody vote, the board's open. Everybody voted? Anyone wish to change a vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
23 yes, 1 absent.
I'd ask the clerk to notify Mr. Moles that he is, has been appointed commissioner by the Sullivan County Commission, as provided by law. Mr. Jones, oh gosh, my computer went off just a minute, Sam, and I'll try to.
I believe he's present.
Oh, is Mr. Moles present?
Yeah,
Mr. Moles? If you'll come up to the podium, we'll give you an opportunity to address the commission. We were going to appoint you in abstention, but if you're here, that means you're ready to do the job. So
Yes, sir.
You're welcome.
Yes. I would like to thank you, sir, and thank all the commissioners for your vote of confidence, for giving me this opportunity to serve as a constable for District 6, Sullivan County, and for the state of Tennessee. As a 31-year law enforcement veteran, I pledge to you that I will perform the duties of the office that you've entrusted with me with the most highest level of professionalism, honesty, and integrity to the best of my ability. Thank you for this opportunity once again.
Thank you, sir, and thanks for your willingness to serve. Constable is very important to the operation of this county. They work very well in our many areas, especially our school districts. We have great constables in Sullivan County. That concludes our elections, confirmations, and appointments. So the next item up is the approval of commission minutes from the previous meeting. Commissioner Crawford moves approval. Commissioner Gardner second. Those minutes have been spread on your desk. Any discussion, additions, or corrections? Seeing none, did you have that on board? When the board opens, cast your vote on the motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting. Everyone voted? Anyone wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
23 yes, 1 absent.
Have received necessary majority. The minutes are approved as published. Next on the agenda is approval of notice and published. Madam Clerk, when you're ready, if you will share the list of notary public applicants.
Hannah Nicole Arnold, Kellyanne Elise Bentley, Gage Black, Paige Carolyn Blevins, Sherilyn K. Ortelli, Abigail Leanne Bowles, Stephen Brummett, Daniel J. Cantwell, Melinda Hall Castle, Sonara Christian, L. Christopher, Sandra Fields, Penelope Dawn Fletcher, Joseph Paul Fry, Darrell Anthony Harris, Bruce A. Hawks, Patricia Kathleen Herndon, Sarah Lauren Hillman, April Michelle Huckabee, Janice L. Humble, Crystal L. Johnson, Paula Lynn Kitzmiller, Jessica Ledford, Sharon P. Lewis, Amanda D. Little, Lionel Malacote, Shaniqua McCoy, Amber L. McKnight, Angelise Ortez, Chantel Owens, Janet R. Peeler, Sheila Ratliff, Caleb A. Reeves, Brenda L. Rifle, Tiffany Lynn Rhines Fox, Donna Lee Sandifer, Savannah Grace Smith, Melissa Spalding, Elizabeth Ann Street, Emily A. Taylor, Susan M. Thompson, Donna K. Whitaker, Larry Williams, Anthony R. Wood.
You've heard the list. Are there any objections to anyone identified on the list of applying for notary public?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Cole, second by Gardner, Cross, and Slayton. Any discussion? Seeing none, when the board opens, cast your vote on the approval of the list of notary publics. Everyone voted? Anyone wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
23 yes, 1 absent.
Have received necessary majority. Notary publics as entered in the record are approved. Next up, Commissioner Cross, would you lead on you, and I'll comment on your attire tonight.
I'm not as dressed up this morning.
Well, I hope that's not recently bought and you've been a fan on those 6 and 6.
I told the kids at school, since they win, all 5 days this week I wear a different t-shirt.
Good. Well, you may have to buy one. We could all dressed in orange tonight. Some of us anyway. Okay, next up on our agenda is the public comment section. And I have the list, and it appears that we have 6 people signed up to speak. As you know, our rules have been forever that we allow 3 minutes per person to address the commission for any reason that they see fit. We don't, it's not a time for debate, it's time to hear your opinion. It's not a time for cross-examination. We want to hear your opinion, and so we give you 3 minutes. And if you need a little bit more than that, we've been very lenient on doing that. But if you see me do this, please wrap it up in just a little bit, because we've got other people ready to speak. So we do limit the public hearing by our rule to 30 minutes, and we'll do carry over to the next meeting. So Jim Goodsich? Goodsider?
I think
Jim?
he left.
I'm sorry?
I think he left.
Okay. No one answers to that. Rhonda Mullins. Ms. Mullins, for our electronic record, would you give us your name and address, please?
Yes, sir. My name is Rhonda Mullins. I am from Homeacre, Virginia. I would like to address you tonight concerning our situation that we have at Observation Knob as permanent, not permanent, but seasonal campers. I know most of you were here Monday night and you're well aware of our concern. Observation Knob, to the best of my counting, has about 169 seasonal campsites and about 53 overnight campsites. That's about 31% is overnight. And the proposal has been made that perhaps Observation Knob could be more financially stable if they moved more campsites to temporary or overnight sites. And what we as campers there have seen is that Friday there's an influx of campers, and Sunday morning they leave, and the rest of us are there either all week or, as in my family, for 12 years we've camped there and stored our campers there. Therefore, we have provided funds for Sullivan County for 12 months a year with our sites. But for some reason, our 9 sites, which has seemed to cause the uproar, and we feel we're justified in asking that further consideration be made for different options. Our 9 sites have been asked in the middle of last week to be removed from our sites by October 31st in order to turn it over to overnight campsites. Some of the residents, 5 of them to be precise, were from Tennessee. I think they have all, or at least mostly all, been offered other sites, not anything like we are, because we have been in the lottery now, most of us, 3 different times in order to upgrade to get our sites. But folks like me who have been loyal to Observation Knob for so many years, but we live out of the state, have not been offered other sites. So we were just told to move. And there's many things, if you just, I am certainly not an accountant, I'm not a bookkeeper, I'm a 43-year school teacher, but I look out there and I see that we have many campsites that are available from Monday through Thursday for overnight folks. And we can see that those sites are $25 a piece. We could raise those to $45. We have fishing tournaments constantly, and they pay, people who go to them pay $3 to get in the gate. What about taking 20% off their gross income in order to raise some more money for Observation Knob? When we have food trucks there, you can't find a place to park. So why don't we have at least one food truck there all summer long and take 15% maybe of their profits to help Observation Knob? Why not have 3 or 4 food trucks there on the weekend? Let's utilize some of those over 100 acres that was mentioned, that we have vacant spots there. I know of 3 different areas that if that was my property, I would have some overnight sites parked on, not just a big, nice, grassy field. So let's do that. Let's think about people's families. When you look at the money side of Observation Knob, that's one thing, but you're not just talking about money. You're not talking about 9 sites that are people that we can move our camper and go somewhere else. You're talking about 9 families that have over the years become one family. When one of our families last year kept searching, they sold their house quicker than they thought, and they looked in Sullivan County to find a home and they couldn't find one to buy. Another one of our campers said, "That's okay, I've got a field you can put your camper in." Well, Saturday morning they loaded up their camper, and 4 of our families that live there that are no blood relation, 4 of us loaded our vehicles up, went with that camper and helped them set up. That's not what neighbors do, that's what family does. When my father-in-law died, the first family that I saw come in that door that absolutely just touched my heart was not my family that was there because they were obligated to be there, but it was my Observation Knob families that drove 2.5 hours to get over to Buchanan County to a man's funeral that they had never seen before. Not because we were just neighbors at Observation Knob, but because we're family at Observation Knob. And what I want you to do is not just to consider what Observation Knob needs financially, because there's many options that all of us who are there day in and day out could help you to see, and that you would see were you there as frequently as we are, but to consider us as people. If I have to move, I will not be sharing my Friday evening with these people that I've been with so many years. If I don't get offered a spot, even if I do get offered a spot, we're going to be in different areas spread around. There's 9 families here that we would like for you to consider the fact that there's more things that we could do to help Observation Knob financially, that we can let all those campers share that burden. Let's raise all of our rent $15 a month, not just put it on the 9 families that are being displaced. Thank you so much for your consideration.
We do that at work session. Let's keep it down. And the next person I have on the list is Rebecca Bukowski. I butcher your last name, Becky, all the time, so you're going to have to forgive me.
It's okay. It's Borowski.
Borowski. I'll try to remember that.
It's okay. I'm Rebecca Borowski. I live at 248 Christus Drive in Bluff City. I'm one of the 9. Okay. This is not just about us losing our spots. This is about all the shady stuff that's going on out there. I've handed out some pamphlets for y'all to look through, and we're not asking you to make a decision or anything. We just want you to hear our voices and hear, what's going on. And it's not just me. I'm not just one person asking this. This is the whole campground. Some of the people are scared to come because of the repercussions of what's going to happen to them, and I understand, because after the last meeting, I've gone through it on social media. I've been threatened. Stuff being said about my family and everything else. That's not what we're about out there. We're a community. We work together, we do stuff. I've taken money out of my pocket, planted flowers at that campground for years. We help the kids, we do stuff for the kids. Me and Ms. Hilbert go out and buy stuff for the kids for all year long, and everybody else helps out. It's not just, that. Yes, there's other ways to be making money out there, and I think that place can be very, very profitable. But the way it's being ran, it's not. I want to know why an ex-commissioner, someone that sat on the board here, can go out, take pictures of my camper, and then put it, and my site number, put it on social media, and call me an irresponsible camper out there because my slide out is over the breaker box. No one has ever told me in the 12 years I've been there that that is a problem. No one. And I want to know why I am an irresponsible camper. Is that not up to the campground to take care of that? I mean, nobody's ever come to me, approached me and said, this is a problem. So I want to know why I'm put all over social media because of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Leave next, Jama Hilbert. Ms. Hilbert.
I'm Jama Hilbert, 589 Thomas Road, Bristol, Tennessee.
Thank you.
I spoke Monday as well. I just feel like the way it was handled was wrong. By the time I had to stand up for what I believe in, and I was not offered another spot until I stood up for what I believed in, and now we're here. It has caused total commotion in the campground. We have, and it's not just me, the whole campground has other concerns. Just if things were handled a little different, it would have made life so much easier. We wouldn't have had to feel, I mean, like, it's scary to stand up for what you believe in. It's hard to get up here and fight for what you think's right. But if no one does it, then there's never going to be a change for the better. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to save my spot. I want to stay there. I've been there 10 years. We love it there. There's so many great things about Obnob, and it doesn't have to be this way. Things can change and it can be better. I just want you guys to go out there, check it out, talk to the campers, look at their pictures, talk to them about how it is, and decide for yourselves how you can make it better.
Thank you. You all been used your time well. Thank you. Next up, Alan Stevens. Did I get the last name right? Okay. Come on up, Alan. Give us your address, if you will, for our electronic record.
My name is Alan Stevens, 416 Fritz Hall Road, Bluff City. I got run out there this year after I've been there 8 years. As a management done it. They accused me of stealing a golf cart to start with. And then he wrote down that all my neighbors wanted me out there. And everybody knows that was a bunch of crap, you know. It was. He just lied about it. It's management, what it is. What happened is he wrecked a truck up there, a county truck. I don't understand. The law was not caught. He was watching me where I was going instead of watching where he was going. It could have been a little kid out there. This is 11 o'clock at night. I mean, he backs into a guy's truck so hard, he hits his truck, runs it into the camper, and knocks this guy out of bed. Knocks him out of bed. He comes out and asks what's going on. Well, this guy is supposed to be the man that's over the Obnob up there. Tell him, don't worry about it. We'll take care of this. He said, don't worry about it. Don't call the law. We'll take care of this. So the law wasn't called. I found out I thought that guy knowed him or whatever. So I talked to that guy. The guy said, no, I didn't know it mattered. He said, I know he was the guy over the camp place up here. He said he was going to take care of it. He said it went for a couple months and he hadn't heard nothing. So he said he comes in here bluffing and tries to talk to somebody down here about what's going on. Well, they ain't never heard of no accident being filed or nothing up there about this guy doing this. So he finally gets hold of this guy, Chris. I reckon him and Chris straightened it out, and Chris ends up paying for it. Why was the law not called for this right here? I mean, I don't understand. I mean, he was a county worker working for y'all doing this right here. And no report from and you go up there and somebody went up there and asked the lady in the booth, so what happened to the truck? oh, it got hit by a runaway golf cart. That was her response to asking for that question, is that it got hit by a runaway golf cart. And everybody knows this boy drinks up there and everything else, and that could have been a little kid on a bicycle that he hit. And they was everybody, like I wasn't supposed to be on that golf course that night, because it was 11 o'clock Friday night. Wasn't supposed to be on it. And when he hit that car, they was like all kinds of people coming in on golf carts. Just checking it out, see what was going on. I mean, it was a big scene. I got it on my phone. I recorded it. You can't hardly see exactly what's going on, but you can hear what's going on, what's happening. And I just can't understand how he can get away with something like that. Not even law we called or nothing. I mean, you get up there any other time, they call law up there all the time for somebody for acting up, disturbing the peace, whatever. Need us up? No. And this guy's got no respect for people up there. I mean, he talks to people like they're crap. I mean, if I talk to people like that, my mom and dad would knock my teeth down my throat the way he talks to people up there like that. He thinks he's better than anybody up there. And
Let's not make this
right,
personal. Keep it to the facts.
Right,
Let's not make it personal.
Right. Okay, but what I was saying, it's a man that's been up there. These people up there are scared to come down here and say anything to y'all. They're afraid to lose their place up there. That's exactly what it is. I mean, simple as that. They're afraid to come down here. If you go up there this weekend, everybody's gonna be moving their stuff. Just walk around there and ask a few people what they think about what's going on up here. They'll tell you. They'll tell you what's going on. But that's my version of it. But anyway, thank you for listening to me.
Thank you. Well, within the time limit. Thank you. Next, Kim Joali. Kim, I'll butcher your last name if I try to read it.
Gallahan. It's Gallahan.
Gallahan? Okay, if you'll come up to the podium and happy to have you with us. If you'll give us your name and address just for electronic records. Kim.
My name's Kim Gallahan from Chilhowie, Virginia. Thank you all for having us, opportunity for some people to speak, and I think that everything that you're hearing is what Observation Knob's about. I'm a father, businessman, longtime camper at Observation Knob, and moving in there now as a seasonal camper. I'm not sure if any of you all realize it, but camping, look up the definition of recreation, and recreation is something that you do for pleasure, something you do when you're away from work. I found out that I enjoy it so much now and then that I bring my work to the campground. I get scolded a lot for working too much, but what these people are telling you, there's a lot of things that have gone on. You might want to, as a county and a board and the perception of what the community's seeing, look up the word perception, look up the word turmoil, look up the word conflict, some of these people have experienced, and it's gone on throughout the season. I've been there for 6 years now, I believe, and we decided to make Sullivan County an observation park our home for the reason of family and for the reason of what they do for the kids, and for the fact that unlike any other place that I've gone, you can take your kids down there and from daylight to dark, they go not unsupervised because we're a family and we're a community. So I want you all to look at what these folks are asking. Some of these long-term campers that have been there 10 years, 15 years or longer, some of them have lost their spot or they're being asked to leave. We're not here to discredit the work, the improvements, to question the change of direction for Observation Knob as a Sullivan County operated campground. Each of us may have situations that we've encountered during the 2022 season that, as some of these other folks have asked, maybe you want to come out and talk to the people at the campground and get it firsthand to where you understand a little bit better. Again, in talking about perception and what, me being from Smith County, I've already had friends, knowing that we camp there, call and go, what's going on? Why is there so much unrest at that campground? And as board members, you all probably need to go investigate it yourself. There's when you put someone in a place of management, I'm not questioning maybe this gentleman's management skills, but when you're a manager, you've also got to be cohesive and you've got to bring people together, and you certainly don't go camping as recreation to go down and feel turmoil, feel ridiculed, or some of the things that some of these other folks have said, and you can find those out for yourself. Before making a rash financial decision, I'd like to ask the board to audit your revenue. Look at the daytime sites, look at how many of them were filled, how many of them were filled 100% of the year, and as a seasonal camper, I can tell you 0. What do you need to do to fill those spots? What do you need to do to keep them full? What do you need to do because these campers come in from out of state and out of town to provide revenue to the county? Maybe look at that before you start evicting people out of their spots that they've had for 10 or 15 years. I'd like to ask you to not view this as an eviction as trivial, or that these families are not from Sullivan County, because I'm starting to see a little bit of favoritism. If you're from Sullivan County, you get offered a spot. If you're not from Sullivan County or you're from out of state, some of these people weren't offered an alternative other than to move. Don't know if that's a perception that the county wants for a county-operated business, because I would think that as a public park, it would be treated fairly regardless of who you are, where you're from. Instead, understand the anger and the emotions from those not just losing a campsite, but a home, and they're losing their family, as they've said, and appreciate your all's time, but think that it would benefit you well, with this being a business operation in an arm of Sullivan County, to go out and look at what these people are saying and what we can, as campers, can do to maybe help the revenue and help the county to grow this, instead of it being what seems to be the problem that a lot of these people brought before you. Thank you.
Thank you. Please, that completes the list of people who signed up to make a public comment. So the list has been on the table for 3 hours, so I declare public comment section closed. Get on to the rest of our agenda. The amendment for zoning plan. Commissioner Gardner, you're recognized. Motion on number 1, Commissioner Gardner, Commissioner Calton. Actually, it's Calton and Gardner. Calton made the motion. Gardner seconds on item number 1 on today's agenda. You ready to vote? The board opens. Cast vote on item number 1. Has everyone voted? Does anyone wish to change your vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Yes.
I received a necessary majority. Item number 1 is adopted. And that is to consider amendments to the Sullivan County zoning plan. At this time, I'll recognize Ms. Torbett in the well. Ms. Torbett, you're recognized.
Thank you so much. So we have, hopefully you can hear me. We have 2 requests from property owners that would like to rezone their property, and 1 text amendment. I distributed all of those during work session last week, and it'll be on the screen. The first request is from Gooch, Little and Associates. They are residential home builders and developers. They have recently purchased what is known as the Ned King Farm in Piney Flats, and they would like to rezone this property from A1, which is general agricultural, to R1, which is single family residential. Thank you. There's the aerial image. There's the zoning map. This map, when we prepared these, it was when they applied, right before the larger section. If you recall, last month we rezoned an adjacent field, the 20 acres off Austin Springs Road, to R1 as well. And they're purchasing that. Their plan is to build a major single-family home subdivision in the Piney Flats community. So we're recommending in favor of this request because it's an extension of the R1 zoning. The only difference between A1 and R1 when you're building a subdivision is you can take it down to half-acre lots instead of 1-acre lots. It will be served by Johnson City Public Water. We already have confirmation of that, and on-site septic. It went to our Planning Commission last month, unanimously forwarded you a favorable recommendation, and there was no calls or concerns from the neighborhood.
Anybody have any questions? Anybody have any questions? Application number 1, case number 1. motion to have a motion and a second to approve item number 1. Any discussion? Is there anyone in the public that would like to comment on item number 1? The board open, cast your votes. Has everyone voted? Anyone wish to change your vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
24 yes.
Ms. Dorgan, does that complete our agenda for your,
I'm
no?
sorry. As easy as those were, and it's always nice not to have contested rezonings, I do have a text amendment. If you all, if you recall, if you were on the commission over the summer, I have already presented this to you, but it sort of went back to the drawing board per your request to fine tune it. As you know, we have a section in the zoning resolution, and it's Appendix D. We created a matrix for the various style of campground regulations or cabin developments. If you will, we've had this on the books for about, I believe, since 2008. So, but if you'll focus on that which is highlighted in yellow, those are the proposed changes. And just pretty simply, we have 2 different types of development trends that landowners have been approaching me to get changed to allow them to make those developments. One is the RV park model district. An RV park model is not your traditional RV camper fifth wheel. It is still a self-contained, road-ready vehicle for recreational purposes. I suppose they're a little higher end, and one of our campground owners specifically is waiting for this to get passed. He would like to convert an old mobile home park that's also a grandfathered in campground, remove the mobile homes that are not up to code, and replace them with RV park models. Our current zoning regulations do not allow RV park model campgrounds, excuse me, but it is it's a viable use. These things are very popular, so we need to have a place where it is permitted. Then the second category, as you have become familiar with, we are getting requests for cabin developments for short-term rentals year-round. Cabin developments are site-built structures, not recreational vehicles, and therefore would be a different density. They would be able to be rented year-round for tourists. Whether or not we approve more districts for this, we do need to have some development standards so that going forward, if someone comes in strictly for an AR zoning, right now, it's everything. You could do campers or cabin developments. If we have the new zone for the rural retreat cabin development, then you would know more specifically what you're voting on. And a campground may not be what you want to see on this particular piece of property, but a cabin development might be something you would approve. So it's kind of like having an all-inclusive commercial zoning district. You need to have your separate commercial districts, right? We have B1, 2, 3, 4, and so forth. So that's what we're proposing. The matrix, believe it or not, the current version was adopted by Washington County. I have been comparing what other counties do for their campground regulations, and I guess it's a kudos to us that Washington County adopted our regulations. Because I said to Angie, no, those are my regs, I want what you're doing, and she said, oh no, we adopted what you did. So that's good, it's working in other communities. But as far as cabin developments go, we have several folks waiting in the wings to request a rezoning. The Planning Commission has worked hard on this. As you know, anytime we amend our zoning resolution, because we are a regional planning commission, and so is Bristol and Kingsport, both of them are regional planning commissions, and so I have to take a text amendment to Bristol and Kingsport. So this has gone through all 3 of those commissions. It went through County Commission in July, I believe, and then back through those 3 planning commissions. And the main objective for taking it back was to not make it mandatory for the landowner to live on site of his development. So it's highly encouraged, but it won't be mandatory. So that was the request from the commission over the summer for us to make that amendment. And we'll see how that works. If you adopt this, we can move forward with these other applicants. Obviously, every rezoning will be a case-by-case individual request, but we need to have the regulations in the book to guide them through the process.
You've heard the explanation, and Ms. Torben, are you asking to consider this change tonight?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Commissioner Vanover, you're recognized.
The cabins that have already been built, like the fishing cabins, will they be grandfathered in?
They sure will, yes.
Thank
you. Of course.
Thank you. So we get into discussion, do we have a motion to adopt the changes? Commissioner Jones, Commissioner Akers, second, Commissioner Means, second, other seconds. Okay, we're in discussion on the motion to adopt the recommendations of the Planning and Zoning Department for campground, Appendix D, campground regulations. So, any further questions? It seems like you've done a good job of explaining this. When the board I'm sorry, Sam, I didn't.
Oh, I don't know if you're ready.
We're ready for discussion. You're recognized.
I'm ready to vote.
You're right. Oh, you're ready to vote. Okay. You pushed the button. Vote. That's fine. Love the enthusiasm. When the board opens, cast your vote on the motion. Everyone voted. Anyone wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
24 yes.
Have received the necessary majority. The motion is adopted. Ms. Torbett, you have anything else for us tonight?
I do not. Thanks so much.
Well, thanks for the work on that. That's a needed change, and appreciate the commission considering it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, we're back on the regular session on the regular calendar. Next up on the agenda is the consent calendar. I have items on this month's agenda. Item number 4, 6, 7, 8, and 9 have been suggested for the consent calendar. Any objection to any item on the consent calendar? As you know, the consent calendar must receive a unanimous vote, but any item can be removed on objection by the commissioner. Seeing none, we're ready to vote. It comes to you positively, so board open to cast your vote. Everyone voted? Anyone wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
24 yes.
I received unanimous vote. The consent calendar is adopted. Next up, the regular resolution calendar, item number 2. Mr. Calton. Somebody push your button, won't be recognized. Ursula, it's not updating. I didn't see you. Okay, you're recognized.
Mr. Chairman, before we get into the rest of the agenda, at this point in time, I'd like to make a motion from the floor, if I could, please.
It would be, at this point, it would be in order. You're recognized for motion.
At this point in time, Mr. Chairman, this motion is to place, at this point in time, on the observation of the park, this motion is to place on hold for 75 days the status quo of all campers of Observation Knob Park until all interviews and investigations relative to Observation Knob Park issues are reviewed. I think from what I understand today, I received an email from Mr. Woodard that's on the Ethics Committee along. I think the other commissioners got a copy of this. And also, the reason that I'm making this motion from the floor is there's 200 signatures on this paper. And I think we need to recognize the wishes of these folks. And I move that motion to pass.
Mr. Glover, I said it was proper to make a motion during this session, but I believe that motion has to do with the statutory authority of the mayor of Sullivan County to manage that park. I don't think that's an obligation or responsibility of the county commission. Of course, I've told you often that you can sell the courthouse if you'd like to. I'd like to discuss that with you. So I'm going to, without objection, we're going to have a 10-minute recess. Be back at your desk in 10 minutes. Mr. Glover, if you'll leave. Commission and your indulgence while we try to sort things out. Mr. Glover and I had a good discussion about where we are and at this point in time. And I'm going to rule, even though it's questionable, I'm going to rule his motion to be in order. So what I would like Commissioner Glover to do is to repeat his motion, and then we'll ask for a second. And then we'll have a discussion on the motion. So, Mr. Glover, you're recognized on the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This motion is to place on hold for 75 days the status quo of all campers of Observation Knob Park until all interviews and investigations relative to Observation Knob Park issues are reviewed.
We have a second by Commissioner Ward and Commissioner Slagle and others. Okay, we're open for discussion now. Board's open for discussion of any questions you might have of the sponsor. Well, I'm going to enter, okay, we do have folks that want to speak. Commissioner Crawford, you're recognized.
Commissioner Glover, with your motion, do you have any idea as to where you want this to go as far as investigation?
From what I understand, Commissioner Crawford, this has been turned over to the Ethics Committee. I think this 75 days would give that department time to look through the information that they've been handed and make a ruling on it. And I think there's some other issues that need to be addressed. I think it will give us time to have some other folks here. There was some things said about the TVA the other night, that the TVA had recommended this procedure to happen with those campers. And I think there's maybe some other members in here tonight that can enlighten on that a little bit more. I don't think the TVA was in the picture of giving advice to do this. I think this was stuck up on personal decision from someone to do that. So I think the 75 days will give everyone adequate time to go through what's been handed over, turned over. Anything new could come forward in this point in time, and we go and make a decision from there.
Well, I appreciate the chairman granting this motion to be made. We've heard from one side basically with some printed material as well as some vocal objections as well. I would like to make sure that the facts that we're getting from that side are accurate so that we can hear both sides as to what's going on and make a decision from that.
I agree, Commissioner Crawford, and I think these 75 days would give us that time.
I agree with you. Thank you.
I believe Mr. Ward was. Okay. Commissioner Slagle, you're recognized.
Just a statement on the 75 days. Thank you, Commissioner Glover, for that. Also allows the Committee for Observation Knob Park to review some of the practices that have gone on and maybe correct some of those practices. Also gives us as a commission the opportunity to review the position in general and to determine whether or not it's structured correctly to be successful and to do the job of serving the people of that park.
Commissioner Crosswhite, you're recognized. Thank you, Mr. Slagle.
Thank you, Mayor. And this question is for Dan. Dan, we have lawsuits from this camp facility in the past.
Have we had?
Have we had? Damages, liability, any kind of lawsuit against the county from this?
We've had two that come to mind. One was here when I got here 28 years ago. It was a suit over a concession stand that we had entered into a lease agreement with, which really doesn't have anything to do, I don't think, with your question. And we had a tree fall out there on some campers and injure a mother and a child, but that's the only two lawsuits I can recall that have involved the park.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions for the sponsor? As I said, I'm going to enter the debate, which I usually do not get into, but there's information that you need to be able to consider this reasonably. The original order was discussed with me by Mr. Irkham, and it was more of an economic decision, and I told him to proceed, to notify folks, part of his management responsibilities at the park. Well, obviously we had the reaction we did, and we once again met, talked, and said, look, we've moved a little faster. I think we made a mistake. This should have gone slower. And so let's inform those folks with correspondence, email or whatever, that that they do not need to vacate their sites. They need to stay where they are. We will have an orderly reassignment. Sullivan County residents will be treated first. Other state residents will be treated second. And that's where we are today. That's the information that these folks, some of these folks that have talked to you tonight, have. That went out to the same people that the original correspondence was. I do want to talk to you about two different levels. Mr. Glover mentioned an ethics complaint. I received this afternoon an answer from Jason Boer, is the chairman of the Ethics Committee. excuse me. And some 16 to 18 charges were made that violation of ethics. Mr. Boer notified the proponent of that issue that only 2 of them related to ethics. And those 2, I'm going from memory here because this is something I'm just came up. I didn't realize we were going to be discussing this in this detail, but from memory, it was the selling of some equipment on Chris's website, and what happened to the money. And I think the other one was his putting his name on a piece of what people thought was county equipment. And I've talked to him today about those 2 things, and we will resolve them. I will tell you that the county equipment that was in question that he bought and paid $800 for out of his own pocket, because we didn't have the money in the budget for the park. But having said that, it still needs further investigation. Those are conversations. Those are not investigations. Those are not establishing fact. And we got to establish fact. The other items that were on the complaint are management items. They're pure management items. And the question is, whose responsibility is it to manage that? We talked 2 times on the phone today trying to set a time when we could get together and review those management items. I told you I was going to talk to you about 2 different things. So, number 1, the change has been delayed, and the implementation was to happen sometime this winter when people aren't in the park, and be concluded in the spring, which is more than 75 days. And number 2, the ethics complaint is a management. I've determined it's a management issue for the county mayor. The other issue I want to talk with you about is a little bit deeper, and it's whose statutory authority is it to manage county property and to handle the personnel. And I'd like to recognize Mr. Street now to share with you what is in the statutes regarding that. Now, before Dan talks, I want to say, I have told you all many times, you can tell the courthouse if you like, you're the legislative body for Sullivan County. Just like the General Assembly is the legislative body for the state of Tennessee. They have broad authority, and you have broad authority. But there are limits. So, Mr. Street, would you go with the items that we talked about?
There's 2 items that I think are relevant, and then probably the third, which is the bigger discussion about the separation of powers. But there is a statute that says that the county mayor is responsible for the care and I've lost it now, but the care of the property. So I think the statute says that that responsibility falls on the mayor. Then there's a existing resolution passed back in 1994 that says the Observation Knob Park was dissolved, and the Observation Knob Park and its day-to-day operations and activities are hereby placed under the direct supervision and control of the Office of the County Executive. So, and then thirdly is the separation of powers of government. I don't claim to be an expert in that, but my first impression would be that the distinction between the administrative branch and the legislative branch is the administrative branch does the administrating, the day-to-day operations of county government. The legislature basically passes laws which guide and control the actions of government. I guess I would have to side with the mayor on this one. There's a statute, there's a resolution, and then there's the principles of separation of government. I would be of the opinion that the mayor is in control of Observation Knob Park. Now, what powers would the county commission have? Well, number one, you could rescind this resolution that you passed, but I'm not sure how far that's going to take you. You know, I don't know. I just, where do you cross that boundary into running the day-to-day affairs of government? If you wanted to, for example, break the lease where we lease that property, I think you probably have the power to do that, but do you have the power to get involved in the day-to-day operations of it? I guess I'd have to lean and say no.
Thank you, Dan. Let me emphasize that we don't have a great divide in this motion and what I'm saying. There's not a great divide here. I don't think we're talking about just setting a limit on it and the county commission setting precedent by giving management decisions to elected officials. Will the highway department be next, or the health department? So it's a little bigger question than I'm prepared really to defend tonight. So I would say that the difference we have is that the brakes have already been put on. So we don't have to have 75 days. We might not need 75 days. We're going to resolve this very quickly, I can tell you. It's going to be resolved very quickly. I cannot, as a manager, let this go. You know, I have a petition up here, and it's got 100-odd names on it, and it's printed out. And I don't question the people that took the petition or passed it around or whatever, but we got names, we don't have signatures. And I'm not sure what these folks were saying. I see this statement here. If this is an internet or Facebook petition, then you know what discussion goes on Facebook, and you know how much it's valuable. So this needs to be investigated, just like the ethics complaint, and the ethics committee will meet. Now, let me finish, and I'll recognize the folks on the board. And push your button if you want to talk on this. But I don't think we have a great divide here. Personally, I talked about it. I just am not prepared as I would be to tell you what I'm deciding as county mayor. Had we had full discussion. So, okay, I'm going to recognize folks on the board as you're on your, Mr. Ward, and I'm leaving the debate now. I will not be challenging any statement that you all make or any opinion you have, because you have a right to that opinion. Very strong right. Mr. Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe what Dan says as far as legalities, but I think as commissioners, we're asked by the voters and our people in our district to take care and listen to some of their concerns. And I do support Herschel's recommendation, but I'm concerned about some of the statements that I heard here tonight about threats, repercussions, and other things. So I think something will happen fairly quickly, but I think maybe the park administrator probably should be relieved of his duties until things can at least be addressed, and not leave him in power or in charge out there to make threats and possibly hurt or injure or whatever else out there is going on. I'm concerned about people standing up here and talking about being threatened by the man that's running the place out there. So,
well, as I say, I'm not going to debate that, but you still have the floor, Mr. Ward. You sir?
I am.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Hayes, you're recognized.
Herschel, I completely support your motion for this also, and this is for Dan. On separation of powers, as a committee member, I'm on the committee for Obnob, and what's the purpose in the committee? Why do we meet? Why did I take 50 plus phone calls this week and get the brunt end of all the complaining, and I have no authority to make any executive action?
It's my understanding, and Observation Knob Park was kept at the direction of the of the mayor. And the purpose of the Observation Knob Park is to give input to the mayor to assist him in operating Observation Knob Park.
So we give recommendations but have no authority. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes. Well, I mean, you know, that is true. The administrative committee has no authority. The executive committee, I suppose, has some authority to settle lawsuits. The budget committee has authority to make budgets, but I guess I hate to pick on the administrative committee, but I don't know that they have any power, do they? I mean, it's not unusual in government for legislative bodies to not have any power. I mean, you know, I can't think of a lot right off the top of my head, but advisory committees, which the park committee is, you just simply provide input. The beer board has power. Now, planning commission makes a lot of recommendations. They do approve subdivisions. Anyway, I could go on trying to think of what every committee does, but I don't know that it's all that unusual to have a committee that really doesn't have any power. I don't know that that's unusual in government.
So would it be correct to say that if people did have complaints, then it should be directed to the mayor directly?
Well, you know, I don't want to direct people to call the mayor because I don't like when people tell.
I get them anyway.
Yes, your question is yes.
That's all.
I'm not going to enter the debate. I'll just give some information. Yes, I take calls yearly, usually from the same people we've heard from tonight. And they've been in my office before. So, anyway, Commissioner Slagle, we got you up there, man. You're right.
I'd echo what Commissioner Hayes said there and note the counselor's comment that no, it doesn't have any authority, but I have nonetheless received at least that many phone calls over the past couple of weeks, and even prior to election, I had received information related to issues at the Observation Knob Park with management. I agree with Commissioner Ward's statement. There should be some sort of revocation of power or change. Apparently that is unilaterally decided by the mayor. I would put it on this commission to review whether or not that needs to be the position, the reporting structure for that position. And if that committee has no power, then I'm not sure why we have it formed. The committee made no decision on hiring, firing, recommendations for hiring through the committee. So I think that needs to be reviewed by the commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Slagle. Mr. Cowell.
Thank you, Mayor. If you look at your petition, we have 130 names on it, no signatures. But I went through these, and 65 out of 130 do not live in Sullivan County. That's my one comment, and you can look at it and count for yourself. And also I wanted to comment on the Observation Knob Park. I guess we do policies and procedures. That's what we do. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Aker. You're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, this is a frustrating part of county government. I've said it for 4 years, and you'll keep hearing me say it. Observation Knob Park is an advisory committee like most of our committees. It takes time to understand that, and really probably wouldn't understand it myself if I didn't serve on some of those committees in the city of Bristol, because certain people just want to hear what the voices of the people are, and that's what we are. We're a conduit for the voices of the people. We can't hire and fire employees. That's not our position. I'm not going to speak for the mayor, but you know, time for time, these kind of resolutions come up that probably have no teeth in them, but they need to be heard, because that makes the public understand that we've heard them, it allows the mayor's office to understand how important it is that action be taken on these things. The mayor's office is a constitutional office, so therefore he's elected by the people. And he's pretty much told you it's in his, I'm not trying to speak for the mayor up there, but it's his thing that he's going to have to deal with. It's on his shoulders. Yeah, I've been dealing with this since probably June. To be honest with you, I kept telling everybody, unless you're willing to put pen to paper and talk about it and make a formal complaint, there's just not a lot we can do. And I'm glad finally, after months, they did, because it needed to be heard. And so I don't want some of the new commissioners to get frustrated thinking we don't have any power. We do. It's the voice of the people to help make sure they're being heard. We've got 158,000 people in this county. But yet, there are day-to-day operations of the county government that have to be done. And so, again, not saying this is a bad resolution. It's a resolution that needed to be heard, so that way the mayor's office can know how important it is. And I think he understands that. Again, I'm not speaking for that gentleman up there. But yeah, it's so don't get frustrated. I mean, this is just part of it. But the people needed to be heard, and they have. And I look forward to see a resolution and see how this plays out and everything.
Thank you, Mr. Eckert. You signed that. Any other comments and discussion period of the motion? Seeing none, I'll ask Angie if we get on board. I will close with one comment. I entered this debate only not as that I want to make that decision. Look, I'm a little bit like Br'er Rabbit here, saying, don't throw me in that briar patch. Nobody in this room wants to make that decision individually with the information we have right now. The only reason I'm in this debate is to preserve the integrity of the system that we operate under. And I'll just say that. That's why I'm in the debate. The system that we operate under, and we've operated under for 150 years. You'll notice this is the 242nd session of this body, and we seem to get through these things. And we're getting through this one very well, because we've had a good debate, we've had a good discussion, and I appreciate it. Mark Iverson, you're recognized.
Yes, Mayor, I just want to make sure that, because we had a lot of discussion, but I agree that we need to hold, I agree that we need to have time to look at it, and that you need to have time to look at it, because we understand it is your decision. But so you're saying that there will not be anything to happen within 75 days anyway, right? You're saying it'll be beyond that as far as the campers?
The campers there are holding in place.
Okay.
And we're looking for, and I actually have found 5 sites that have been offered. None of them have been accepted. But there's no time limit on these people who have not been told that they're going to be moved from their site.
Okay.
It's only in the spring when we look to reopen the park. And this is an instruction I've given to Chris. Would anything like that happen, which is more than 75 days, much more than 75 days. But as I say, this issue has to be settled shortly, and will be settled shortly. So, thank you for your indulgence. The board's open. When the board opens, cast your vote on the motion as you understand it. Put a motion to delay any action observation of park for 75 days. Reason. And you heard the motion. This is just what we got to put on the board to get it up there. I won't try to explain the motion. Yes.
I guess I just like. Oh, I'm sorry. I guess I just like to ask the sponsor, do you still want to proceed?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Angie's getting it on the board.
Board is open, cast your vote. Has everyone voted? Anyone wish to change your vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
19 yes, 4 abstain, 1 no.
Have received the necessary majority. The motion is adopted. So we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which I believe is item 3 under new business, and Commissioner Jones has I'm sorry, I'd already marked it off. We were in the middle of it, so okay, we'll go back to item 2, and Commissioner Calton, you're recognized on item 2.
This resolution is self-explanatory, but I'm going to ask County Mayor if you would explain it.
Thanks. We'll recess just for a second. And the reason the sponsor asked me to explain it is that I, at your direction, and a resolution passed by this commission, we contracted, Sullivan County contracted with First Tennessee Development District to recommend distribution of the $9.6 million in utility money for water infrastructure investment program. And they have met with every utility and advised every utility of the amount of money that out of this $9.6 million that they're recommending that this commission approve. And that money will, we have to jump through some hoops, and the hoops were really serious when we first got them. It's just like the American Recovery Plan money, the $32 million. It was very stringent. We had to go to hours and hours and weeks and months of work, and then all the rules went away. Well, they followed the same thing here. So we have distributed money, met with the utilities, and I believe First Tennessee Development District has advised the utilities of their portion of this money. I'll give you an example. South Fork will get $1 million. That's what the resolution is about, is to approve the funding now. The investigations have been made, projects have been identified, which is properly so. The independent utilities, they're independent in Tennessee, they're independent in Sullivan County, and money has been allocated by the First Tennessee Development District. I'll be happy to answer any questions that I can. Commissioner Crawford, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Where this $32,000, the 10% match that we're doing, will that come to the general fund?
I believe that it can come from the funds that are being distributed, because the contract with First Tennessee Development District was for 7% of the proceeds of the grants, and there's a 10%. They could bill the fund for 90% of that, the grant fund. So this is not the entire amount that First Tennessee will get. The $32,000. Mr. Bailey, your expertise. Well, I'm going to ask just what's happened in the past, because I don't have the answer to the question. But are we able to fund that out of, in your opinion, are we able to fund that out of the grant proceeds?
To be honest with you, I haven't studied that particular point, but I'm not so sure you can.
The provisions of the grant came out originally that all these utilities had to come up with somewhere between 20 and 40% match money, and that went away pretty quick when the government saw the effect of it. We've got some utilities that couldn't afford that match money, so the match money went away. They still have to provide 10% match. It's all 10% across the board.
Now, you're talking about the utility district.
Utility district.
Going to provide that 10%
right.
match.
The $32,000 is the amount that is not covered by the grant.
Okay.
And I didn't mean to put Mr. Bailey on the spot because I don't think either one of us know, but it could potentially come out of our general fund.
So there's a possibility, but we can't go into the ARP funds and recoup that.
Well, I was going to assume we did, Larry. Is that a bad assumption?
Without reading the specific grant, this particular regulations on this particular grant, I wouldn't want to say it. I've not, since we turned it over to the development district, I've not really paid that much attention to
Right.
it.
And that's probably, and I would say that on the record, let's pass this assuming that Sullivan County will need to match $9.6 million or $32 million for the utilities in the county. Let's assume that we're going to have to come up with that match. So assume that you're spending that money tonight to get $9 million. So we'll go on that assumption. That's the worst case. Any other questions? I'll be happy to try. Zane?
I was asked by our Bloomingdale Water, and you may not know this answer, but maybe you do. How will that money be dispersed? They're just not going to write one big check, or it's going to be in increments, or?
I believe it would be one big check.
Okay.
That's
I'm sure they take it.
In my opinion, it's not a reimbursable grant, just as the ARP money that the county was given is not reimbursable. It's a check.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Mr. Hayes, you're recognized.
The amount each district gets is based on the project that they had in mind?
I'm sorry?
The amount of money that the utility will get, is that based on the specific project that they had?
Based on number of customers.
Number of customers.
Yeah. To give you an example of what numbers they came up with, Kingsport serves 13,000 customers outside the city of Kingsport. Bristol serves about 1,800 customers outside the city of Bristol. So those had to be factored in because they're county residents on public utilities. So, and I probably shouldn't mention this, but John City Water is in Sullivan County too, but First Tennessee Development District did not recommend that. So, yeah, David, it was based on population, a number of customers, let's say. Any other questions? You ready to vote on item number 2? Ms. Angie, could you open the board on item number 2, the motion to adopt the properly seconded? Has everyone voted? Anyone wish to change your vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
24 yes.
Have received the necessary majority. Item number 2 is adopted. I will check on whether I will call controller and see if that match comes out of our fund or if it'll come out of grant funds. But there is a 10% match from the utilities. That's got to come up front. Okay, let's move on to item number 3. Commissioner Jones, you.
After having a couple questions tonight, put this on first reading.
Without objection, Commissioner Jones moves to put item number 3 on first reading and be heard at the first calendar of next month's meeting. The information I have is that item 4 was on the consent calendar and you passed it. So next up, item number 5, Commissioner Akers, you're recognized on item number 5.
Thank you, Chairman. I think I meant to put this on consent agenda, but it's a resolution to authorize Bristol, Tennessee Municipal Regional Planning Commission and the Kingsport, Tennessee Municipal Regional Planning Commission to delegate authority to approve subdivision plats to their respective planning staffs. And as we talked earlier, we approved this for Amber, and because Bristol and Kingsport both have the urban growth boundary designations, they wanted us to kind of codify what they did too. So I'm not going to read all the TCA codes and all that if I don't mind.
Mr. Eckert moves the immediate adoption of item number 5, seconded by Commissioner Neal. Commissioner Vanna. Any discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote on item number 5. When the board opens, please cast your vote. Has everyone voted? Anyone wish to change a vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
24 yes.
Have received necessary majority, item number 5 is adopted. Item number 6 is on consent calendar. Next up is item number 7. Mr. Vanover, you're recognized on item number 7. I'm sorry?
It was on consent.
On consent. Didn't get that mark, so let me correct my record. 7, 8, and 9. On consent, thank you. So that would put us to item number 10. And Commissioner Ward, you're recognized on item number 10. Would you go ahead and push your button there? There you go. Thanks, Travis. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a resolution to accept Sullivan County Board of Education's action to enter into a purchase agreement the Colonial Heights Middle School property, which is 415 Lebanon Road, Kingsport, with the winning bidder, which was Lakeway Christian. As most of you all know, they had an auction. They put it up for bid. There was 2 bidders, Lakeway Christian and somebody else, Kingsport City School. Lakeway Christian won the bid. I've spoken with several people in that community, and that's what they want to happen. That's what's best for District 7. And Board of Education has approved it 7-0 for the sale. And I would ask that for a waiver of the rules, and I would ask that you approve this.
Commissioner Ward moves for the immediate introduction and adoption of item number 10, properly seconded by Commissioner Vanover. And we have some questions. Commissioner Gardner, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor, and I'd like to tell Commissioner Ward, good job putting this together on the fly, and if it's okay, everyone that votes in the affirmative be added as a co-sponsor.
Absolutely.
Without objection. Somebody went away that I was getting ready to recognize. Anybody else have any questions? Okay, we're ready to vote. When the board opens, cast your vote on item number 10. Everyone voted. Anyone wish to change your vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
24 yes.
Have received the necessary majority. Item number 10 is adopted. Next up, item number 11. Commissioner Vanover, you're recognized on item number 11.
Thank you, Mayor. This resolution is to approve the BOE funding construction of an access driveway from Henry Har Road to West Ridge School. The cost estimate has come in at just around $2.27 million. They're asking to take this money from their reserve funds. Already spent $200,000 on engineering. Hopefully have the permits by the end of February 2023. Bid it out in March of 2023 and have it under construction in April and completed in 15 months. So this is just asking for approval for the BOE to spend their own money for this access road from Henry Har to West Ridge. I know this is an issue that's been before this commission for a long time and much needed to have some egress and ingress into and out of the school. So I hope everyone can support this.
Mr. Vanover moves for the immediate introduction and adoption by waiving the rule. Properly seconded by Horn, Ward, Harvey, and Means. Mr. Jones, you're recognized.
Commissioner Vanover is correct. We have passed this resolution back in February a year ago. Similar resolution, new board, and I didn't know why they ever stopped the actions going on it, but they did, and it's just, I guess, reaffirming a previous action by the last commission body.
Thanks, Sam. Commissioner King, you're recognized. Dwight, could you hold on a minute? Dan want to be recognized. I'll try to do that. Dan, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I heard the motion was to approve the allocation of money, but that's not mentioned in here. I would just ask for clarity that it be amended. I mean, it doesn't say in here that we're approving their expenditure of, I believe you said $2 million some dollars.
2.27 million. Mr. Jones is here from the school board, I think, if you have any.
Could we just, all I'm asking is that the resolution be amended to include that part of it. You said it when you spoke on the resolution, but it's not actually in the resolution.
And it can be amended by your comments.
Okay, I'd like to amend the resolution to have the correct amount of money in the resolution, $2.27 million.
And the sponsor accepts his amendment, so it is accepted and on the resolution now. Thank you, Dan. Commissioner King, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. That's one of the questions I had. After I read this, it didn't say in there anything about who's going to actually spend the money, and it's been a long time coming. I remember the first time at Hearst when I met with Randall and talked about this thing, you know, and it's come to pass now. And I know that we passed to do the engineering, and it was about $200,000. I remember we done that, and then there was some we had to get some permits. And, you know, when you have to get permits, and it was kind of in a low-lying area, wet, and you're going to have to, you know, get the right kind of permits and stuff. So that was probably one of the biggest reasons it was kind of put on hold. But the engineering took a while, and finally we wanted to get it right when, you know, we brought it. So anyway, that's where we're at. So I think it's a good thing, and I think it helps West Street.
Mr. Trent, do we need the exact amount on this resolution, or?
Yeah.
If you could share that with the clerk, Zane.
You said where it was coming from. I'd like that.
From Henry Hard to West Ridge School.
No, where the money's coming
from the BOE General Fund. I think Mr. Jones would like to speak to that. That's acceptable.
Chairman Jones, you're recognized. We'll recess here to hear you. Welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And since there does require an amount in there, I would like to suggest that you put in $3 million, because that's what we have listed as a possible cost. The $2.27 million that Commissioner Vanover mentioned was just a cost estimate by the engineer, but with bids like they are, and that's why it was worded that way, that when we said an acceptable bid. But if we need to put a number in, let's put in $3 million, because that's what we've got in our fund balance to allot it for that, and it will come out of the undesignated fund balance for as far as a line item.
Good clarification, and I'm sure the sponsor will accept that.
Yes, sir.
To be $3 million out of the
up to $3 million is what we want to make sure that that way we don't have to bring it back to you for approval if the bids come in over the 2.27. That's what I'm concerned about.
You've heard about the inflation we've got, haven't you?
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Mr. Vanover accepts.
In today's time and the way things are today, it's probably a safe bet.
Accept the amendment, set the amendment at $3 million out of undesignated fund balance for Sullivan County Schools. Thank you, Randall. Commissioner King.
Zane, was that including the lights going up and down?
I think that's just the road, just the work on the access road, paved, curbed, and guttered.
At one time we talked about putting lights all the way down to where people could see coming and going, or if they parked alongside that road at a ball game or something, to where they could, you know, be seen. I just wondered if that included the lights, and also maybe a gate that could be shut at some time if it needed to be.
Not that I'm aware of. Mr. Jones, do you have any of those things included in that price?
You're recognized, Randall.
Thank you, sir. There are no lights included. We do have electricity there for the gate. The price itself does not include the gate. But we've got curbing from the tennis court, from the parking lot now past the tennis court. And we may have to move the road just a little bit because of the tennis court, and that's still being designed by the engineer. But there's no lights on it. It'll be basically a curb out to where it goes downhill, and then there will be the mainly just a ditch, and you'll have ground on the side for parking. Actually, the engineer thought that would be a better idea than having the curb, because that way we can park off the edge of the driveway.
Right.
But at this point, there's no allowance in there for the electrical part, simply because of the cost figures that we were dealing with. And I have an itemized list of what they've projected so far for this, and I think it's $2.26 million altogether. But that was just a cost estimate. That includes a 15% contingency from AMT as far as what they're listing. Last year, it was just a 10% contingencies, and even the contingencies have gone up on that. So we are excited about trying to go ahead and get it started.
Okay. All right. Fine.
Thanks. Board clear, so we're ready to vote on item number 11. When the board open, please cast your vote on item number 11 as amended. Everyone voted.
Please.
Anyone wish to change your vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
24 yes.
Have received necessary majority. Item number 11 is adopted. Commissioner Jones, your secret recognition.
Could that resolution show that everyone voting in the affirmative be on that as a co-sponsor?
I believe everybody would agree to that. Without objection, everyone voting in the affirmative be listed as a co-sponsor. Next up, item number 12. Commissioner Means, you're recognized on item number 12, on new business.
This is just a resolution to approve an expenditure appropriating funds from the Sullivan County Board, their undesignated fund balance for the payment of bonuses to their support staff. That's like their custodians, cafeteria workers, like that. And so the cost estimate is at $525,000, and it's coming from their undesignated fund balance. I ask for a waiver of the rules. And if you have any further questions, Mr. Jones is over there and he'd be happy to answer those.
Ms. Means, Commissioner Means moves for immediate introduction and adoption of item number 12, properly sponsored by Commissioners Vanover, Harvey, and Horn. Commissioner Bailey, Mr. Bailey.
I just had a question. Does this include the benefits or not?
No, this is just a one-time bonus. Yeah. This is not a raise, it's a bonus.
I understand that, but when you pay $5,000, whatever, you have certain benefits that have to be paid in that. Does that fund that, or is that in addition?
I'll deflect that.
Chairman Jones, you're recognized.
The bonus will be a gross amount. They will have to pay their own benefits out of that. Retirement and Medicare and so forth will come out of it's a $1,000 bonus for full-time employees. They will not net $1,000, of course, and then it's a $500 for part-time employees. Anyone who's employed, I think, of May the 26th of 2022, and who's currently employed. This is support staff only, custodians, secretaries, part-time educational assistants, and so forth. They will not clear the $1,000, but benefits will be included in that amount.
Yes, so benefits are included. Yes. Thank you.
That's thank you. Commissioner Glover, you're recognized.
I'm gonna be nice, Mayor.
I know you are.
I'm gonna be nice. Right. I ain't gonna get your blood pressure up again. I'm gonna be nice.
Right.
Hey, I got my pills with me.
I'd like to congratulate the commissioners that did this resolution, the sponsor, the co-sponsors, sponsor Ms. Means, Mr. Vanover, Ms. Harvey, Mr. Horn. Back in August, the other commission that we had done a resolution to recommend a
4% raise to go along with the 1%, and those folks would have been greatly appreciated for that. But the school board stepping up and making this happen for those particular employees, I think was the right thing to do. And I know those folks need that. They need that extra help right now. The holidays coming up and all that. And I was the first one to come up and listen to those folks back in August. And I want to be the first one to Chairman Jones, Vice Chairman Hughes, Board Member Mr. Iverson, Board Member Ms. Rouse, Board Member Mr. Spivey, Board Member Mr. Robinson, and Board Member Mr. Price. Thank you all for voting on this and moving it forward to give to those employees. Thanks again. I appreciate you, and I know they do.
That's nice. That's nice. Thank you. Okay, Commissioner Croswell, I'm sorry, Commissioner Means I've interrupted.
And I apologize. Everyone who voted in the affirmative of this can be added as co-sponsors.
Without objection. No objection. Commissioner Croswell.
Thank you, Mayor. This might be a dumb question, but that's okay. Are bus drivers included on this? They're privately owned?
From my understanding, they are contracted.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, you got your answer you needed. Okay, we're moving on. John Gardner.
That Commissioner Crosswhite's question may be the same answer as this one. Cafeteria workers and janitorial?
Yes. Yes, sir.
It does include them?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Commissioner Aker.
Thank you, Chairman. A lot of educational resolutions tonight, and I never desired to be a teacher because I knew I could not do it, so thank you all for what you do, but I feel like I'm a social studies government teacher tonight. This is a prime example, whether anybody wants to admit it or not on the other side. The resolution we voted on in August had no teeth, and we were told it didn't have because we cannot tell the school board, you know, how to do their pay raises and such. But what it did do, it brought attention to the situation, and that's where why sometimes we have to do those things. And so obviously I didn't know this was coming, so when I read it, chuckled and everything, but it's good work. And like Herschel said, thank you to the school board, Chairman Jones and the rest of them for listening and coming up with a way to make that work and everything. It doesn't obviously fix everything, but it's a step in the right direction. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Iverson, you're recognized.
Just to give a little background to this, because I'm pretty much knee-deep in it. So my wife was a teacher assistant for 16 years. So she quit, went home to take care of grandbabies. So before that happened, on the board, I didn't feel like I could address support staff pay. So whenever we came along, it was something I was really proud of. And to be honest with you, it was something I was bragging about, how good of a job we did. Because we went from 20, this is not just talking about last week, I'm talking about before August. So in our budget, we had gone from 20 different scales down to around 10. We'd taken the part-timers and full-timers and put them on the same band. And I looked at it from my wife's perspective. I looked at what she made, what she would have made, and I was extremely proud because it made a huge difference. So on for hers, it would have been a 35 to 40% pay raise. It would have been big. What I failed to look at was the full-timers didn't get nearly as much. So once that happened, we'd already looked at it. We'd already been trying to figure out a way to address it. And then once the budgets were closed, they found out we had some money. We're able to help and make this right. We've known for a while that we didn't do as much as we could have, but it wasn't for trying, it was an error. And I was, like I said, I was very proud. I was bragging. I showed a couple people, found out we didn't do as much as I thought. So I was embarrassed by that, but then we fixed it. So we appreciate you guys, but that's where it came from. We were trying to do the right thing. We got close. We're getting better.
Thank you, Commissioner Iverson. Commissioner Harvey, you recognize.
Yes, and I would just like to comment that Superintendent Raflowski also made the comment the other night that this was the beginning and they hope to do more. So it is a one-time payment, but they recognize that there's a need to recognize these people and do more, and this is just the beginning. So we appreciate that and applaud them for making that decision.
Thank you. Any other questions before we open the board to a vote? Commissioner Means moves to waive the rule for immediate introduction and adoption. Joyce, you sneak in always on the last of these.
It's called COVID-19. I just want to take this opportunity to thank you all. I think this commission needs to do a thank you all for bringing this forward. This is well deserved. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. When the board opens, you've heard the motion. When the board opens, cast your vote. Has everyone voted? Anyone want to change the vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
24 yes.
Have received the necessary majority. Item number 12 is adopted. Item number 13, first reading. Commissioner Stidham, you're recognized.
This resolution is create a county community planner position within the Planning and Codes Department. We have Amber here. She did a great presentation at work session on this. As you see, with all the building going on, we're going to need some extra help. Their office is pretty swamped these days. Amber, you still here? This is on first reading. We can carry it on out to next month. If anybody has any questions, we'll bring it up at work session
And first,
next month.
Commissioner Stidham moves to pass this on first reading, properly second. Have Commissioner Akers would like to ask a question.
Thank you, I would, because I know with that presentation last week, are you okay with first reading? Because you've mentioned about a meeting that you were going to sometime, and I just want to make sure you're all right. Because I think you had some prospects lined up at a meeting, or you might want to talk to people.
Well, thank you for the great memory. Yes, I will be at my annual planning conference next week, Wednesday through Friday in Knoxville. And we do have, I'm one of the mentors for the young professionals, so I was hoping, but I don't want to push this. I know this is big to create a new position, but obviously I would love it if we could move forward, but it's whatever you all decide.
It is a big decision, but you could probably still have some good conversations, knowing that there's a possibility.
Right.
I am fine. However y'all want to proceed.
Mayor, I think with the amount of support we have for this department, we go ahead and just do this on waiver of rules tonight.
It is
for
at
something to take
9
with her
o'clock.
next week.
Commissioner Stidham moves to waive the rule for immediate introduction and adoption of item 13, properly seconded by Commissioner Crosswhite. We have any questions? Seeing none, when the board opens, cast your vote. Requires 16 votes for passage. Everyone voted? Anyone wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
24 yes.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Next up, item 14. Commissioner Locke, you're recognized on item 14.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. This resolution is to sell 2011 International Model 4400 Rescue Unit on behalf of the Kingsport Life Saving Crew. Now therefore be it resolved, Sullivan County Board of Commissioners meeting in regular session that the Kingsport Life Saving Crew is authorized to sell 2011 International Model 4400. This is waiver of rules.
Commissioner Locke moves to waive the rule for the immediate introduction and adoption of item 14, seconded by Commissioner Gardner. Any discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. Requires 16 votes for passage. When the board opens, cast your vote. everyone voted? Anyone wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
24 yes.
Have received necessary majority. Item 14 is adopted. That completes our published agenda for this evening. There must be something magic about that 9 o'clock because you hadn't planned on suspending the rules. Okay, couple of things. Number one, on your desk tonight you found some on your desk tonight, you found a sheet of paper with your name listed on it with your other fellow commissioners. And the reason I did this, these are normally appointments that the mayor makes. But I had so many requests to be considered for appointments to either the Networks Board or the Airport Commission. I would like to get your feel as commissioners who would be the best representative for you. And I wanted to give you a month to look at this. These appointments come at times determined by the bylaws of those organizations. The only determining factor is that networks must have one county commissioner on their board. And so when the county commissioner occupying that seat was defeated in the election, that means that we need to appoint a county commissioner for the remainder of that term. With the Airport Commission, that is yearly appointment. Sullivan County has 2 appointments. I make those appointments as often as the bylaws require. And so I'd like to have your input. And your input to me will be totally anonymous. And if you will tell me first choice for those committees or second choice for those committees. And David just threw it at me, so I assume he's voting. But any way you want to get that to me, I would appreciate it. I would appreciate the help, quite honestly, because it's extremely important that you have confidence in these appointments and that you have confidence in your fellow commissioners. And I need to know that. Part of being a commissioner is working together and getting along together. And you've done that extremely well tonight. And so if you want to be on one of those, I'd campaign for it. That's what I do. So I encourage you to do that. And if you made your vote tonight, that's good. If you don't want to vote, that's fine too. Do whatever you want. I really just like to have your input. Okay, the final say that I have on Observation Knob Park and the committee that worked with that park. I appreciate it, and I've always used that committee and asked for their advice on how to handle things. My job is to see that policy is implemented and problems come to that committee, and it takes some guts to serve on that committee. And I appreciate those that do. And so I appreciate the debate we went through. I just wasn't aware of a motion tonight to do that. As I say, it's going to be put off 6 months anyway. And so I will probably work with our county attorney because, as I mentioned, this is an important fact of the relationship between the executive branch of government and the legislative branch of government. So I will consideration of whether we have that crisis that I should appeal this and get further. But this is for all future mayors and for all future commissions. We need to establish that and where that bright line is. So if you see that I've asked the comptroller or the county attorney to represent me, it's representing me as mayor, not Richard Venable, but as mayor, to establish a bright line, if we can. There's so many gray lines in the government. But in this particular case, I think it's a bright line. And as I say, I'm kind of like Brother Rabbit. The Richard Venable says, well, I'd love for you to be handling this problem, not me. Y'all just take a vote and we'll send out pink slips. That's not the way we do things. So, and that's what I think. So anyway, thank you for your patience. You've done a great job tonight.
move the county forward. We handled a lot of things tonight that we haven't handled before. And I never thought that road would be built. I'll start winning football games tomorrow if I can get out of that property. So, anyway, thank you, and we will see you. John is setting up your committee meetings. Let me get one more thing. You committee chairs. Now, committee chairs, as I understand it, is Administrative Committee, Commissioner Harvey's chair, Commissioner Iverson's chairman of the executive. You all work with John and set yours up. We're still we tried to organize budget today. We've got some work to do. We couldn't get folks here. Oh, I need that. Excuse me just a moment. Okay, and this is another one of those things that we were just talking about. I have a suggestion. I work very closely with Mark Torby, who is Director of Solid Waste. And Mark talked to you a lot, and I know you all have very confidence in him. He came to me and said, look, we need new equipment, and the county commission has funded that through some ARPA funds, but we need to bring our rate schedule up to date. And Mark made that recommendation, and I approved it, but I did want to let you know about it. So the weight by ton of solid waste that we pick up for our citizens, the old price $37.28, new price $44.74. Bag trash, $1 remains $1. TVs, $5, it's up to $6. Tires on the rim, 19.5 or lower, $5 to $6. Tires off the rim, $2 to $3. Tires off the rim, 19 or 24.5, $8 to $10. Couches, you wouldn't believe the couches you'd think were from West Virginia. Cheryl knows that. She used to go up there and play with the football team. Couches from $5 to $6. Chairs from $3 to $4. Toilets, $3 to $4. Mattresses, $5 to $6. Box springs, $5 to $6. Garbage cans, $2. Remain $2. I don't need to do that, but I like to keep you informed because somebody might call you and say, why didn't you do that? And you say, we need to do that, so we buy a truck to pick up your trash. So our county, Carter County landfill is $52 plus fees and taxes. Waste management is $44 per ton, $45 per ton. So folks, the situation is we take our garbage to waste management landfill out here on 357, but because it's in Sullivan County, we do get a rebate. So we've got a good deal. Anyway, I want to inform you that, again, don't leave it here. Whatever you got, leave it here. We're all friends. We all work together. And I can tell you, it is great to be working with you. Thank you. Motion adjourned. 24 people. Wyatt has his hand up. We're adjourned.